Good morning. It is Tuesday, January the 4th. I'm Shane Seeley and this is the CBC Morning Report. The Barbados Labour Party is promising this morning that if returned to government, it will provide subsidies for first-time homeowners under the age of 35 years of age. Now, the Prime Minister, Mia Moore, made the revelation while hinting at the contents of her party's manifesto at the BLP's platform launch last night. The virtual national meeting was the first of its kind under the current pandemic guidelines, with sites at Montgomery Playing-Field, Eden Lodge Pasture, and Denton Road in Grisettes.
You can't ask people to believe that ownership matters, as we will do for you, without understanding that sometimes there are limitations to people being able to own. The first limitation, especially for young first-time homeowners, is if they got enough money to pay the legal fees for the documents when they're buying a property. Not true? And therefore, this government will give a subsidy of $3,000 to every person under the age of 35 buying a first-time house in this country for the first time to help towards legal fees.
Meanwhile, the Democratic Labour Party kicked off its 2022 election campaign with a virtual evening of prayer and worship streamed from the party's George Street headquarters. DLP President and its candidate for St. Lucie, Verla de Pisa, promised Barbadians will soon hear of the policies of her party that they have crafted to help rebalance and reshape Barbados.
It is a very, very narrow window of time. But because we considered our people at every step of the way in crafting the policies, we are satisfied that they are not a hard sell. And so when we start our hard campaigning, we immediately will be speaking about our policy positioning going into the election.
Now weighing in on everything on the campaign trail, political scientist Peter Wickham says with the possibility that thousands of voters could be affected by COVID-19 come election day, there should be alternatives in place for those in isolation to be able to cast their vote on January the 19th. Speaking on last night's political analyst program, X-Trail, Mr. Wickham commented on the decision by the Electoral and Boundaries Commission that COVID-positive voters will not be allowed to cast their ballot.
There is absolutely no way you can have thousands of people being infected with COVID and being told that if you are COVID positive or if you are suspicion of COVID positive, that you need to remain at home. And I do feel that there has to be some mechanism. And I'm in complete agreement with comments I heard during the course of this morning from other UE academics that it's not good enough. You cannot disenfranchise thousands of people in this way during a pandemic. I think the EBC has an obligation to rise to the occasion to identify an alternative mechanism. If it is possible, then we can have early voting or we can have an alternative voting schedule, but some kind of facility that would allow these people to participate in elections.
And Professor of Political Science at the University of the West Indies, Cynthia Barrow-Giles, contended that the EBC hasn't been as imaginative as they could have been in coming up with a plan B in this COVID-19 environment.
The EBC has said to us they'll be taking certain precautions, but I do not think that you can in fact tell people who are in enforced confinement at a Harrison's Point, sometimes due to no fault of their own, that in fact they cannot exercise the franchise. The EBC, if people don't recognize, have the right to in fact define any building, any area as a polling station. And as far as I'm concerned, if the EBC was in fact creative, sufficiently creative, they could have in fact an imaginative, if they had done the work, they could in fact label or call the Harrison Point facility as a polling station, and they can organize how to do.
Now, the Director and Research Fellow of the Sir Arthur Lewis Institute of Social and Economic Studies, Professor Don Marshall, highlighted another error by the EBC, but he's hoping they will reduce the number of mistakes going forward.
That release of information that exposes the private details of every resident and citizen in Barbados. That was a huge error. And again, the EBC, hasn't started well. But I'm sure there's still time for them to clean up their act and move forward. There are brilliant people working there, by the way.
We'll have more news coming from the campaign trail right here on the Morning Report, but up next are COVID-19 updates. 200 new cases of COVID-19 was logged by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory on Sunday, including 74 males and 126 females. Looking at the latest dashboard, they were identified from among 896 tests conducted. The new cases comprise 23 individuals under the age of 18. There were 210 people in isolation facilities when we last checked, and 1,378 others in home isolation. Further afield, a public health official in Jamaica is insisting parents there should be allowed to decide if their children should be able to attend face-to-face classes during a fourth wave of COVID-19.
The Ministry of Education has issued a circular to its regional directors, school board chairmen and principals, informing them that face-to-face instruction will resume in all pre-primary, primary and secondary level institutions. But Professor of Public Health Dr. Winston Davidson argues virtual learning should continue where there are inadequate spaces to accommodate students. He says some parents will be fearful about their children being infected with the virus, especially among the unvaccinated.
Right. My view is that they should, in fact, continue where it is possible. Let the parents decide whether or not they wish their child to go face-to-face, and you should continue with having the provision of online schooling. But of course, the children are ordered back to school, and let us see.
Dr. Davidson believes schools could be super spreaders of the highly transmissible Omicron variant.
The reason is that children are very, very difficult to manage when it comes to social distancing and also with wearing of the masks. And we therefore must expect that once you have an outbreak of this particular variant, once it is highly transmissible, we know that wearing the mask the proper way and also have social distancing and, of course, the necessary personal hygiene of washing of hands, etc. These are very important aspects for the prevention of the spread, and especially the rate of spread in this particular virus variant is very, very high, and I expect that you're going to have an acceleration of the outbreak in schools.
There's also a call from the National Parent Teachers Association for the government to reconsider the return to classroom at this time.
And the holidays just gone, and the spike in the reported cases, I think what we should do is to wait a bit until this spike in wave subsides and go back to some closer to normalcy, of where you're having just a few cases per day. There's more control, and then we can look at reopening school, I would say, in February.
In the meantime, the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools says institutions will use this week to make arrangements for the resumption of face-to-face classes. Each principal will then determine when classes can begin.
Time now for a tease of what's coming up on today's edition of Morning Barbados with our very own Pearson Bowen.
Good morning, Shane. Good morning, everyone. When you join me here at 6:30 for Morning Barbados today, we'll talk to you a little bit about women in tech Caribbean. I hear your question. We'll meet a couple female software engineers who'll talk about the space they're creating to connect other women in technology in the Caribbean. We'll also meet today the Queen of Culpeper, a lovely lady from Marley Vale in St. Philip who's written a couple books, and so she'll share her story. What an inspiration she truly is, and so we'll hear from her a little later on. And if you are a prospective landowner and you have a prospective tenant who has pets, what are some of the things you ought to consider and give great consideration to? Agent Shrita will join us to talk a little bit more about those as well. So just a tease of what you can expect when you join me at 6:30 for Morning Barbados. It's back to you, Shane.
Thank you, Pearson. Marley Vale, St. Philip, a good place to be where the breeze is high. After the break, let's head back to the campaign trail and tell you all about what's happening there as the political campaign rages on here in Barbados to the January 19th general election. The race to see who will govern this island for the next 5 years took a major step yesterday as candidates from the various parties, along with some independents, were officially nominated. The nomination centre for St. Michael North East, the constituency of the Prime Minister, Mia Amor-Motley, was at the St. Matthew's Primary School. Our Crystal Hoyt reports.
Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley arrived at St. Matthew's Primary School, flanked by supporters, as she made her candidacy in St. Michael North East official, a constituency she has represented for the last 27 years. When asked on her confidence in retaining the government, she said she would not predict the will of the people.
I'm very humble when it comes to the will of the people, and the will of the people shall be carried out. I shall ensure that I lead a team that is going to make the strongest possible case as to why we are the best team to continue to carry this country forward, to protect it, to create opportunities for Barbadians, and to make us that place in the world where people say that is a country that punches above its weight. But equally, from within Barbados, people can say this is a country that has given me opportunity.
She said she could not leave without thanking the people who put her there.
This is my 8th election, and believe you me, without you, I could not be here.
But Democratic Labour Party candidate Damien Griffith is confident he can garner enough support.
We've had for far too long a situation where it was felt that one particular person could only represent the constituency. And we now need to change because we have a morass in the constituency. It's continuously clear that the voters are frustrated. So we intend to run a campaign where we give them the opportunity to vote for change.
He added that the party has reflected and is ready to serve Barbados.
With a young and energetic team which is capable of running this country. And so I offer myself today as part of that team and in support of all of the other candidates who are going to be running across the length and breadth of Barbados.
Roy Turney of the Bajan Free Party believes he will be the one to effect real change in the constituency.
Very confident because at the end of the day, if everyone in Barbados can say that they're comfortable, yeah, their lifestyle is comfortable right now, don't vote for me. If you do the same thing over and over again, you're not going to get a different result. So if you're happy with what the B's and D's have done in Barbados for over 55 years, don't vote for me. But if you're not, vote for me because I'm the one who's going to really make the change.
Barbadians go to the polls on January 19th. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
Meanwhile, the nomination center for the St. Michael Central constituency, where the opposition leader Bishop Joseph Atherley is running, was at Combermere School. Oriane Phillips was there.
Opposition leader Bishop Joseph Atherley of the Alliance Party for Progress was the first candidate to arrive at 10:25 a.m. He was accompanied by his wife and a team of supporters. Defending his decision to switch constituencies, Bishop Atherley says he's been living, working and serving in the area for several decades, and over time, he's developed many relationships.
This church which I lead has been there, and I have been pastoring it since 1981 without fail. And the people of the church haven't chased me away as yet, and the people of the community have not made me feel unwelcome. So you're looking at about 40 years of service to this community, to this constituency. On top of that, several people in St. Michael Central repeatedly had asked me to come and run up here. When I lost the St. Michael West seat, the Barbados State Party lost the government in 2008, and that intensified. Several people told me, if you're coming back, come up St. Michael Central, come up Station Hill, come and run up here. And well, hence I'm here. I'm here to serve.
Incumbent Arthur Holder of the Barbados Labour Party arrived just before midday. He too was accompanied by a team of supporters. He's upbeat about his chances.
The people of St. Michael Central in 2018 reposed their confidence in me by electing me with a victory of 2,043 votes. I have been loyal and trustworthy to the people of St. Michael Central. And secondly, I am not only a man of the people, but a man for the people.
And just around 1:30, the Democratic Labour Party's candidate, Corey Cox, came with his team. He isn't bothered by Bishop Atherley's move, but he's focused on helping others.
A lot of people who are out here know me, have been friends with me for a long time, even before all this. So there's no ground game for me. I am just continuing what I have always done. And that has been to connect with the people and to understand what's going on with the people. Listen, sometimes I come over here at Colvin and I meet youngsters who may want some kind of advice. When I was at school, I was a hard-earned boy. I used to give a lot of trouble. So when I see young people and they're going the wrong way, sometimes I talk to youngsters, because I remember I was there. So sometimes I may see a guy and he lost his life through the crime, or he goes to prison or something, and I know that for me, I was one bad decision away from being in that situation. So this is not a ground game for me. This is what I do all my life.
If given the nod, Cox hopes to implement some more social programs for constituents. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
And Darrell Jordan Secondary School was the location for nominations up north in St. Lucie. Aaliyah Briggs was there.
Nomination day activities continued in the northernmost parish of St. Lucie, where President of the Democratic Labour Party, Verla De Pisa, is seeking election. Ms. De Pisa was the first candidate to arrive at the Darrell Jordan Secondary School for nomination. She was accompanied by a group of eager supporters. An optimistic De Pisa told the media the DLP is organized and actively mobilizing. She emphasized that social media will play a key role in their campaign efforts, given the COVID-19 challenges.
Ours always was a ground game, so this suits us. Also, we have a young team of candidates, so social media suits us. And that really is the focus that we have to have going forward, because as I said earlier, the safety of our people is the immediate consideration. Whatever we do in our campaigning, it will always have that as an overarching focus, that we are keeping our people safe.
Wayne Griffith, candidate for the newly formed coalition, the Alliance Party for Progress, or APP, arrived shortly after with a few loyal supporters by his side. However, his exit clashed with the arrival of incumbent BLP candidate Peter Phillips, and he did not wait around to be interviewed. Mr. Phillips was accompanied by BLP candidate for St. Peter, Mel Jordan, and an energetic group of party supporters. A confident Phillips says he is looking to recreate history in the parish of St. Lucie.
Today begin the process where we look to create history again, as this would be the second time that a Barbados Labour Party candidate is looking to be returned to office. Now, it has been a very interesting journey, and as I go from district to district, community to community, house to house, persons are telling me that we are moving forward together, building a new St. Lucie.
Aaliyah Briggs, CBC News.
The incumbent for St. Michael Northwest, Neil Rowe, is confident of his chances as he returns to the polls for his second time. He told the Morning Report he's established a good track record with the people of that constituency. He was speaking at the Ellerslie Secondary School yesterday following his nomination.
I feel confident because of the amount of things that I have done and completed within this constituency just over the last 3 years. I feel confident because my representation within this constituency was fair and equal, and my aim obviously is to return to Parliament with the Barbados Labour Party government, with Mayor Motley as the leader of this country, because our aim as government is to keep Barbados safe and the people safe, and to continue to create opportunities for the people of who we serve. That is my aim.
Meanwhile, the Democratic Labour Party candidate Ryan Walters says there remains too many issues to be dealt with there, and many of them are present in housing estates and within the constituency.
When you go into different communities, there are a lot of issues that need to be resolved in the housing estates. There are many issues with maintenance of the buildings. I mean, literally when the rain falls, some of the units are flooding out. People cannot get any support from the National Housing Corporation. When you go out of the units, you see roads need to be repaired, you see flowing water mains, you see significant bushy areas all on electricity poles, etc. So there are a lot of things both on the national level and also at the local level that the Democratic Labour Party is ready and willing to take on, so that real representation can come for St. Michael Northwest.
Let's go over to sporting news now, where the West Indies Rising Stars under-19s have won the fourth 50-over warm-up match against South Africa under-19s to draw the series at 2 apiece. Electing to bat first at the Artistvale ground in St. Vincent yesterday, the Windies under-19s were bowled out for 126 in 35 overs. Teddy Bishop top scored with 43, including 6 fours. Leg spinner Dewal Brevis for South Africa took 4 for 11. South Africa under-19s were then dismissed for 107 in 23.5 overs for the Rising Stars to win by 20 runs. Left-arm spinner for the Windies, Jaden Carmichael, led the way with 3 for 14, while pacer McKenny Clark contributed 3 for 23, and fellow pacer Johan Lane 3 for 34. Let's now go over and take a look at the weather. It's really cool on the outside. 24.6 degrees Celsius is what it is right now. It's feeling like 25 degrees Celsius, so about the same there, the apparent temperature. And the actual temperature, it's cloudy, and the relative humidity stands at 76%. The barometric pressure is 13.9 millibars. Those winds have dropped off, though, coming out of the east-northeast at 17 kilometers per hour. We'll see a high tide this morning at 19 minutes to 11. There will be a That's when the low tide will be. The high tide will be at 8 minutes to 5. In the afternoon, there will be another low tide later on tonight at 22 minutes to midnight. Those seas are moderate in open water this morning. Swells are between the 1 and 2 meter marks and increasing. Today will be sunny with cloudy periods with the occasional brief scattered light shower. And tonight we will have a mix of clear skies and clouds with brief scattered light showers. And looking at the international weather forecast, in London you're not getting into double digits today, neither in Frankfurt. The highs 9 and the lows 2 respectively in both cities. When you look at Miami, it's the normal picture at this time of year. Pretty cool, getting down to about 21 degrees Celsius on the lower side of things. In Montreal, it's cold, getting some snow as well. Up to -6 there today and down to -8. In Boston, the high is 0. The low -3 degrees Celsius today. In New York, pretty cold as well, getting down to -1 degree Celsius. And in Toronto, this is the normal picture in January. 2 degrees Celsius the high, 1 degree Celsius will be the minimum temperature. And that's it for this edition of the Morning Report. I'll see you at 12 with CBC Newsday. I'm Shane Seeley. Up next, we have Pearson Bowen with Morning Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Indeed, good morning to you everyone. Good morning. Welcome to today, Tuesday, the 4th of January, 2022. Welcome to Morning Barbados indeed. I'm Pearson Bowen. Glad you can be with me again today. For those of you watching us here in Barbados, good morning. And for those of you across the globe, wherever you are in whatever time zone, it really doesn't matter. We're glad that you're keeping us company. So for those of you watching our YouTube channel, thank you. For those on our Facebook stream, thank you too. Remember, like our Facebook page, Morning Barbados on Facebook. Easy to find. And when you're there, you will find that everything we talked about today will also be there. So you can always, at your convenience, go back and check it out to regain some information you may have missed because time goes so very swiftly. So thank you for liking our page. Thank you every day for interacting with us on our social media platforms as well. We love your comments and we encourage you to keep talking among yourself and talking with us on Morning Barbados as well. Coming up today, Thornwood will be by. We're continuing to look at some of those New Year's challenges, setting your own timelines, and at Waterpress. Yeah, he will talk a lot more about that in just a little bit on Morning Barbados as well. If you are a landlord and you're having a prospective tenant who has pets, what are some of those things you need to consider as you prepare your home? Give your home to someone who wants to rent with those kinds of conditions. Well, Agent Sharita will talk to us about the things we need to have top of mind when that kind of tenant presents themselves. Dr. Gillian Birchwood, it's Tuesday, will join us as we take a look at our pediatric care as well. We're looking today at healthy eating, healthy diet, and exercise. But for a child, what is exercise? It's just play, isn't it? But what is exercise for a child, and how much time in a day should we offer for exercise? And then how can we get our children to really adopt a healthy diet? Questions? She'll have the answers. We'll also this morning meet the Queen of Culpeper. I can't wait to talk to her indeed. Some very interesting books she's written, and she will tell you about her life, her struggle, and how she's been able to overcome and can now call herself truly the Queen of Culpeper. But let's get started this morning by looking at the whole question of women in tech and Caribbean. Two young women join us now. They're both software engineers. Let me introduce you first to Janiqua John and Somaya Tottembeti. Good morning to you, ladies.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome, welcome indeed. Janique, I'll start with you because you're the founder of Women in Tech Caribbean. What is it that inspired you, along with your co-founder, to start this organization?
Yeah, so I started this organization essentially out of a need, a personal need. I actually migrated from St. Vincent, where I'm from, to Brussels, and I started a career there as a software engineer. And I came across a lot of opportunities, and I wanted to find a central place to share these opportunities with women back home. And I couldn't find it. I just decided, since I can't find it, I'm going to make it. I contacted my co-founder, and yeah, the rest is history.
Is it that you couldn't find it because there are not that many women in technology in the Caribbean? What's the experience? I don't know.
That's a good question. You know, since I started this community and since we've been thriving, I realized that there's quite a lot of us, especially if you include the diaspora. But for some reason, we just weren't connected. We weren't in a central place. It wasn't easy to find us, especially as women, especially software engineers, for example, are quite the minority in general in the field.
I mean, you are yourself a Twitter developer. And as that is, what is that? What skill sets would one need to have to be able to do that?
Yeah, so funny story with that. I was actually contacted by Twitter, the company, based on my work, things that I had been doing with the Twitter API, and also my work with Women in Tech Caribbean. And essentially what I do as a Twitter developer insider is I'm a public facing expert on Twitter APIs. So anything that connects to Twitter itself or communicates with Twitter, I'm the knowledgeable person. I also create content, and I meet directly with Twitter product developers. So upcoming features, upcoming plans that they have, they share it with us first, because it's actually a group of us. And then I try to represent the Caribbean and communicate with as many Caribbean software engineers as possible on what's coming up with Twitter.
Very interested in this. So Maya, what about you, your journey so far? Because you work as a software engineer with Nike, global platform tool, Nike's European headquarters, as a matter of fact. What a journey it's been for you. Where are you from, and how did you land at Nike?
So I'm from the Bahamas, and I moved to Europe about 6 years ago from my college studies. And although I started my journey mostly in technical companies, it was very surprising that technology is being used so heavily within Nike. We usually see the website and maybe the mobile app, but there's so much going behind the scenes. I've not always started as a software engineer. I started it off in electronics, but I've realized my love for building and developing applications that are used by people. So that's basically how I got into being a software engineer and at Nike.
Now, there are lots of stereotypes and positions that we hold in the Caribbean as it relates to women and certain functions. You know, software engineering, who? What? That's not for the ladies. How are you able to overcome that stereotype, and what challenges do you see for other young ladies in the Caribbean making their way into technology?
Well, at least for the Bahamas in specific, there's a lot of focus on certain industries, so tourism, banking, and yeah, those are the two main industries. So I think it's really important to have an organization like Women in Tech Caribbean to show not only women, but the younger generation as well coming up, that there is so much more that you can do outside of these industries, and they're all relevant in one way or the other for our future economy as well, and also for the world globally.
And so, Janika, thus formed Women in Tech Caribbean. You have where across the Caribbean are we finding women in every jurisdiction in the Caribbean who are part of this organization? And what's the platform like? What do you provide?
Yeah, so right now we have about 235 members. And the thing I love about this community, I'm a small island girl myself. And we have people from St. Vincent, for example, Grenada. These smaller islands, which I have to say tend to be underrepresented when it comes to Caribbean-wide organizations. But we're all there. Bahamas, like Samuel, project manager. We have project managers from Trinidad, Barbados. So really all over the Caribbean and also the diaspora, which is really important because a lot of them they go abroad, they make it, let's say, and they want to share or give information back to those who are just entering the field. So we really cover quite a number of islands.
What technology do you use to network?
Yeah, so we are really based on Slack, which is kind of like an online group. But so far, it has expanded. We tend to have monthly networking calls on Zoom, for example, just to meet each other and kind of connect, as I said, and open up about problems that we might be having, struggles, or also wins. But yeah, mainly Slack, but you could also find us on Twitter and Instagram.
You know, Samaya, you ladies can get together in any forum to talk about anything, but you're talking technology. So out of this conversation, this community that you've formed, what is it that you're hoping to achieve? What is the overall aim?
Well, the overall aim is to pretty much build a community and to empower and support each other throughout this journey in any sphere of technology per se, and to really uplift each other and to know that, there are people who've been there where you are. And yeah, that's basically what it is, just building a community of women who come from similar backgrounds.
To lean on each other, to share experiences and success stories naturally. But what about opportunities, Janique? What about creating spaces where they know what opportunities exist? Because, it's such a haystack, literally, the communications network. And how do we find what opportunities exist? So is that what Women in Tech Caribbean also provides?
Yes, definitely. We actually had a success story from a couple months ago where a young lady, she's actually from St. Vincent, but she's based in Europe and she was looking for a job in Europe because she finished her studies. And it's not so easy to break into the tech market, especially when you don't have connections in a place like Europe. But she was able to connect with another member who works at a big company in Europe and was able to secure an interview and then was subsequently selected for interview. So she would be working there from this year. So as you said, sharing opportunities, I mean, that's the whole reason why I started this community, to kind of make the world feel smaller in a field where we can tend to feel so alone. Mm-hmm. And then if you add on top of that we are Caribbean women as well, it's even more of a minority.
I see you've partnered also with some other international groups as well. I see here, Coding Black Females UK. I just like the fact that you're playing on your ethnicity and location as well. This is fantastic. So with what other groups are you partnering?
Yeah, so we're partnering with Coding Black Females UK, as you said, which is an amazing organization. They've been so kind to let Caribbean women participate in some of the activities that they have. They're quite a mature organization, so they have connections with like Amazon, Google, and so forth, and they let us in. So thanks to them for that. But also, closer, we also collaborate with Caribbean Girls Hack. We worked with them on International Women's Day last year and Girls in ICT Day. We also work with Women Tech Makers Trinidad and Tobago. We did quite a big conference last year. So I'm really happy with, the partnerships that we have, and we are stronger together. The more that we connect with other people who are doing similar work or reaching out to smaller groups of people in the Caribbean, the better. We're really trying to make the wall of women in tech in the Caribbean very, very small.
Growth is also going to be a critical part of it, because it's well and good to say, hey, we're good, we're happy, we have the 200 people that we wanted, and so we settle. But there are other projects that you're taking on. Samaya, give us a sense of what's new on the horizon for Women in Tech Caribbean.
Yeah, so currently we have several projects running in parallel. So we have one that I'm working on called the Speaker Slate, which is to bring more diversity to conferences and panels. And by diversity, I mean women of color and women, period, and in different fields of technology as well. We have other projects running as well, like the tech series, where we discuss various technical topics, just very informal, chatty sessions. But something exciting that's worth mentioning is that we are hosting our very first conference this year under Women in Tech Caribbean. So that'll be very exciting because the Caribbean itself doesn't really have many tech conferences. That too, surrounded by, like I said, like-minded women as well. So we are very much excited to host this conference this year. So do keep up on our socials, and then we will keep you all updated on that.
Janiqua, you know, there are lots of young girls and women watching today who either are in technology or who are interested in becoming very involved in technology and are looking for the opportunity which you provide, Women in Tech Caribbean. So how can they now move to the next stage and connect with you? Where can they do so and how can they do so?
Yes, so we have a website, womenintechcaribbean.com. I would suggest that be the first place that you check because that will connect you to everything else. Our Twitter, our Instagram. We are also on LinkedIn. If you search Women in Tech Caribbean on LinkedIn, we're also quite active. But the website is kind of the central place you can find everything. If you don't remember anything else, just look for womenintechcaribbean.com.
Very simple to find indeed. We're working with Caribbean Women in Tech. You get to meet the members. There's a whole host of things happening there. And you are also encouraged to share, ladies in tech, women in tech. Just to keep in the words constant, Women in Tech Caribbean, that's a space to share. But you're going to be launching very soon, Janiqua, a blog. Let's talk about that. When is that
Yes.
launch and what can one find on this blog?
Yeah, so we have some other project managers, and one her name is Odessa. She's the content project manager, and she's the one in charge of the blog project. Actually, a little secret: it's the first post is already live. If you go to the same website, you can see it. But the official launch is in 5 days, so you'll get a little sneak peek if you go and look ahead now. And we're looking for people to feature on the blog. So if you're watching this, and you're a woman in tech and you're based in the Caribbean or in the diaspora, please reach out to us and we'll love to feature what you do on this blog.
Oh, that's beautiful. Womenintechcaribbean.com, and you can find all that you're looking for right there. If you want to sign up, you can sign up there as well. If you want to read the blog, you can find it. There are teasers up at the moment, but the blog will be launched in its fullest in 5 days. Time indeed, and we want to encourage all women of the Caribbean, women of color, women in the diaspora, who are Caribbean people as well, to like to sign up, to engage with the blog, engage with the website, engage on LinkedIn, engage in all the socials. That's the space that you ladies now operate in. Two young ladies of the Caribbean making us very, very proud this morning indeed. It is my tremendous pleasure to have met you. I hope that more women in the Caribbean find technology interesting enough. I was going to use the word sexy, but that would be sounding so sexist. You know, interesting enough to want to be a part of it and to join Women in Technology Caribbean, in Tech Caribbean. Thank you so much, Samaya Totem Betty and Janiqua John, for talking to us a little bit more about that today. All the best with your endeavors. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
My pleasure indeed. Thank you too. That's it for them. It's now 16 minutes to the hour. We'll take a break right here and we're coming back to meet the Queen of Culpeper.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
14 minutes now to go to 7 o'clock. I love this story. I love the story of the fact of a little girl born in Marley Vale, St. Philip, who grew up to become the Queen of Culpeper. What a beautiful story, isn't it? A fairy tale, literally. Her name is Mel Jordan. Mel, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Pearson, and good morning to Barbados.
Thank you
and
so
good morning to all visitors in Barbados.
Wonderful. Good to meet you indeed. I'm sure so many are watching today are thinking, I know her. I know she. Miss Jordan. What a story that you've written, Mel. You've been places, but I like their humble beginning. And oddly enough, almost a little bit of a parallel here, because you're one of 11 children. I'm one of 10.
Yes.
So, there's a close similarity. You grew up in the country space in Marley Vale, St. Philip. I grew up in St. Lucie. So let me talk here, Mel. What was your experience as a girl? Tell me about your experience first as a girl.
I must say, it was, I was happy. Our home was a very happy home. We were poor, but in those days, you didn't know the difference between poverty and the rich, because the rich, there were few.
Mm-hmm.
And as a girl, I had a good experience. Like I said, I was free to roam. There were no restrictions. I could go to the beach. I could go fishing. So I had an exciting childhood.
You sound like a mischievous kind of girl.
I would say adventurous.
Adventurous, fair enough. And so that adventure taught you so much. I mean, growing up in a large family is very difficult at a time when, resources were limited. And so the parents had to decide who would get what at what point, and then which child would pay back for it with another child and so forth. Was that part of your education? Was that part of your experience as well?
Yes, because I used to wear, my two sisters had me done. We would wear, one wear dress and it filter right down through. And that's how we used to operate. And cook from 5 flying fish to serve all of us. She had a very special technique, how to cut one fish for 4 people. So 2 of us would have a wing each, and somebody would have the head part, and somebody would have the tail part.
Yes, I know. It was odd how our parents were able to almost feed the 5,000 with little. They got that biblical thing sorted out very quickly. And so there was a lot that you would have learned from watching your parents cut and thrive and watching other people around you cut and thrive as well. And so you've distilled all of this into this book, Queen of Culpeper, and Come a Calling. That's a long title. So tell me why you called the book that.
Book. Which book?
Have you written a book, Queen of Culpeper and Come a Calling?
Yes, so
right.
Which one are you referring to?
There are 2 books?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's go first with Queen of Culpeper.
Right. Culpeper, you want to know why I wrote
Yes.
the Queen of Culpeper. Culpeper was one of my favorite spots. It was one of our favorite jaunts when we were young. And the island always had a mystery. There's this island, seen it through the eyes of a child. There's this island all alone, and no one living it on this island. And I used to go over there whenever I could walk over there. I would climb up on the island, and I would lay down or sit on a rock, and I would let my mind drift. I would place myself in this imaginary world, like if I were the queen of Culpeper, if I could own this island, like this is the island. I'm all alone up here. It's so peaceful up here. I can get away from everything up here. So it was my place for daydreaming.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Your own paradise, your own palace where you are in charge. And so is this a story of your life, Mel, where it's Movel's experience written in the book Queen of Culpeper?
Exactly.
Wow,
It's all about my growing up, living in Marville. It is my life story.
This is beautiful indeed. And then tell me about then Them Come a Calling, because now that's an interesting one. What's that about?
Them a Calling is a fiction that it encapsulates like a typical village, and all of us can identify with someone in the village. And it's funny, it's supposed to be witty, and it's a good read. A person, you have to read it to understand what's in it. I think most people would like it. It's very funny. The book contains a sprinkling of characters who we can recognize. Either there are us or individuals we recognize. Themes of the village, religion, hypocrisy, and the list goes. So it's funny.
Yeah, but typical human behavior, which is also quite interesting.
Yes.
Now, you said of yourself that you only went to St. Catherine's School and not a secondary school, and who would read anything that I write? So what is it that inspired you to write in the first place?
Person, I always like to write. I always fancy myself as a poet. So I would write poems and things like that. I've got loads. And when I'm all alone, which I'm often, I always write things and put them aside. But COVID presented me with the opportunity to really put my life and growing up and the struggles that we had at home into this book, The Queen of Culpeper. And I write this book to be a inspiration for all those who feel that there's no hope or whatever. I hope this book would be an inspiration.
Indeed, I mean, you've always loved books, even as a girl, and you used to collect and store in the trunk and make sure that you have something to lose yourself in when all around you was so miserable. And so you're doing the same thing today. You are now producing for many others as well a book of escape, The Queen of Culpeper and Them Come a Calling, places where people who love to read and who love to imagine, who love to experience, can themselves experience what you, Movel, have experienced through life. And this is fantastic. So where can people find copies of the book? How can they get them? Because I want to read them myself, so where can we get them?
Person, I will be at Emerald City this weekend, Friday and Saturday morning, from about 9:30, selling books and signing books. So you can come and you can get a copy there, and there will soon be in the bookstores.
Oh, that's great. So on Friday and Saturday morning from 9 o'clock, I normally go to Emerald City in the afternoon, Movel, so I'll miss you. That's all right.
No, you won't miss me, Pearson. I'll be there all day.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I will definitely look for you because these are great books. I mean, they make great gifts, first of all, but they also make great reading for anyone of any age, I suspect, because they're so colorful to start with, but the story is gripping. And I haven't even read it yet, but I can feel it already.
I think that the covers, I have to give credit to our local artist, John Walcott. We sat together and we came up with the whole concept for the covers of the book. And I think John did an excellent job. So I think all credit for the covers and the colors you use should go to John Walker.
Someone on our social media platform is asking about Ulrich Jordan. Any relation?
Oh, we are cousins.
Oh, so now Anita, now you know you're all cousins too. There's a lady by the name of Anita who's on social media who said, oh, hold on, ask if she knows about Ulrich Jordan because Ulrich is Anita's uncle. And so now we know you met a cousin.
Well, tell Anita I was bred and born in East Point, not too far from Alway, and he's my mom. So, bred and born Jordan.
That is fantastic indeed, how we could be able through social media here to connect all of you together. So on Friday and Saturday, folks, at Emerald City, the complex there, you will find Movelle. She's there waiting. She will autograph your book in person for you, and she will sell you both copies or one. You choose. You really, really choose. Movelle, how is it now that you stop to think for just a second that you're an author? You are an author. You've written books. How does that feel?
Personally, it's awesome. I feel so humble. I can't even believe it myself that I actually live my dream. I feel so humble. You got to tell me that a million times to get
You know, what I love though is that here is this girl with just a primary school education, but a passion for reading and writing, and how you've been able to evolve into who you are today to produce this. There's a story in there for someone who is looking for inspiration today. So what do you say to them about moving from humble beginnings to becoming the person you are born to be?
What I would like to say to them is don't lose hope. Keep focusing. And most of all, surround yourself with positive people. People who you can learn from, and people who will teach you things as to go in the right direction. And if you stay focused, eventually you will achieve what you set out.
Yeah. Can you see the screen right there in front of you, and can you read the words at the bottom of the screen? Don't strain your eyes, Movelle.
Hello, Movelle, long time no see. And
congratulations on completing your books. I have made several attempts and may still try. Lots of inspiration. That's from Sean D. Thornhill. That's
Miss Thornhill, my advice to you is don't give up trying.
And then Anita Yard, your cousin. Anita Yard, your cousin, says, I'll come and meet you on Friday and Saturday.
Hi, Anita. Looking forward to meeting you.
Oh, there is so much love being shared.
And I'm looking forward to meeting you too, Pierce.
I'm looking forward to it myself. That's the truth. Friday and Saturday. Carolyn Phillips is saying, good morning, Movelle. Congratulations. These people are talking as though they know you.
Pearson, I love people, so I love people. And I worked on Broad Street for 13 years. And then I went to Springer School for a number of years, Harrison College. So I have a lot to, I have a lot of people who know me.
Can we bring that back up again, if you can, production crew? Because there's a question that came up for you, Movelle, coming from Canada. How can I get the books in Canada? You know, that's in time, I suppose.
Yes, if I get lucky, I'll be able to go there. You know, I would like to share these books in the diaspora. And because I think there's something in especially in both, but the Queen of Color, I think most of us could identify with something in the Queen of Culpeper. It would bring back good memories, I'm sure.
Indeed.
And I think most of us are in the position now where we can look back at how far we've come and be able to laugh. We'll be able to share it with our grandchildren and so on, you know. So I think that having a copy of the Queen, I think everybody should have one.
Movelle, girl, you have a tear coming. No, I can't let people see me do this. But thank you so much for joining me on Mornin Barbados today. Congratulations on your productions. Friday and Saturday, folks, we're heading to Emerald City. That's where Movelle will be from about 9 in the morning. She will be there. She will autograph your copy of the book. She will sell it to you. I want to encourage you to go out and buy it indeed. Very soon, it'll be in bookstores. And for those of you in Canada, over the world, yes, very soon, call somebody here, let them get a copy for you and ship it up to you. That's the easiest way to do it, right, Movelle? Easiest way to do it right now.
Yes, don't matter.
Indeed, but thank you so much for joining us this morning, and all the best to meet you, Miss Queen of Culpeper.
And Pearson, and thanks for having me. And I'm looking forward to seeing you and all who want to see the Queen of Culpeper and to read it.
Indeed, so indeed. Have a good day, Mobile. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
You're very welcome indeed. Lovely lady. We'll take a break right here. When we come back, we'll have the news.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
7:03. Once again with the news, here's Shane Seeley.
Thank you, Pearson. Here's your headline news for this Tuesday, January the 4th, 2022. First-time homeowners under the age of 35 will be granted subsidies to buy their properties if the Barbados Labour Party is returned to government. Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley made the promise while hinting at the contents of her party's manifesto at BLP's platform launch last night. The virtual national meeting was the first of its kind under the current pandemic guidelines, with sites at Montgomery Playing Field, Eden Lodge Pasture, and Denton Road in Grisettes.
You can't ask people to believe that ownership matters, as we will do for you, without understanding that sometimes there are limitations to people being able to own. The first limitation, especially for young first-time homeowners, is if they got enough money to pay the legal fees for the documents when they're buying a property. Not true? And therefore, this government will give a subsidy of $3,000 to every person under the age of 35 buying a first-time house in this country for the first time to help towards legal fees.
On the other side, the Democratic Labour Party kicked off its 2022 election campaign with a virtual evening of prayer and worship streamed from the party's George Street Auditorium headquarters. DLP President and its candidate for St. Lucie Verla de Pisa promised Barbadians will soon hear of the policies her party has crafted to help rebalance and reshape Barbados.
It is a very, very narrow window of time. But because we considered our people at every step of the way in crafting the policies, we are satisfied that they are not a hard sell. And so, when we start our hard campaigning, we immediately will be speaking about our policy positioning going into the election.
Now there's a call for provisions to be made for thousands of voters who could be affected by COVID-19 come election day, January 19th. Political scientist Peter Wickham, speaking on last night's edition of X-Trail, commented on the decision by the Electoral and Boundaries Commission that COVID-positive voters will not be allowed to cast their ballot.
There is absolutely no way you can have
thousands of people being infected with COVID and being told that if you are COVID positive or if you are suspicion of COVID positive, that you need to remain at home. And I do feel that there has to be some mechanism. And I'm in complete agreement with comments I heard during the course of this morning from other UE academics that it's not good enough. You cannot disenfranchise thousands of people in this way during a pandemic. I think that the EBC has an obligation to rise to the occasion to identify an alternative mechanism. If it is possible, then we can have early voting or we can have an alternative voting schedule, but some kind of facility that would allow these people to participate in elections.
Meanwhile, Professor of Political Science at the University of the West Indies, Cynthia Barrow-Giles, contended the Electoral and Boundaries Commission hasn't been as imaginative as they could have been in coming up with a plan B in this COVID-19 environment.
The EBC has said to us they'll be taking certain precautions, but I do not think that you can in fact tell people who are in enforced confinement at a Harrison's Point, sometimes due to no fault of their own, that in fact they cannot exercise the franchise. The EBC, if people don't recognize, have the right to in fact define any building, any area as a polling station. And as far as I'm concerned, if the EBC was in fact creative, sufficiently creative, they could have in fact an imaginative, if they had done the work, they could in fact label or call the Harrison Point facility as a polling station. And they can organize how to do.
And the Director and Senior Research Fellow of the Sir Arthur Lewis Institute of Social and Economic Studies, Professor Don Marshall, highlighted another error made by the EBC, but he's hoping they will reduce the number of mistakes going forward.
That release of information that exposes the private details of every resident and citizen in Barbados, that was a huge error. And again, the EBC hasn't started well, but I'm sure there's still time for them to clean up their act and move forward. There are brilliant people working there, by the way.
And finally, let's look at the local COVID-19 situation. 200 new cases, 74 males and 126 females were logged by the Best dos Santos Public Health Lab on Sunday. They were identified from 896 tests conducted. The new cases comprised 23 individuals under the age of 18. There were 210 people in isolation facilities and 1,378 others in home isolation. And that's our 7 a.m. headline news. I'm Shane Seeley. It's back to you, Pearson.
Shane, thank you very much. It's now 9 minutes after 7 o'clock. We're taking a break here and we're coming back with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
10.5 minutes after 7 o'clock now. Time for us to take a look at our good decision of the day. Here's hoping you take note. Today, we say to yourself, every day, think as you wake up. Today, I am fortunate to be alive. I have a precious human life. I am not going to waste it. I am going to use all my energies to develop myself, to expand my heart out to others, to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. I'm going to have kind thoughts towards others. I'm not going to get angry or think badly about others. I am going to benefit others as much as I can. Words of the Dalai Lama. As your good decision of the day to get up, wake up knowing that you are fortunate to be alive, having precious life, and you shall not waste it, but be of benefit as much as you can to others today. That's your good decision of the day. Here's hoping you implement it and talk to us. Let us know how it worked for you. A break, and when we come back, Dr. Birchwood will be with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Thirteen minutes after 7, time for us to meet up with our pediatrician, Dr. Gillian Birchwood. Dr. Birchwood, good morning to you.
Good morning. This is my first opportunity to tell you all Happy New Year.
Thank you. Or to wish you Happy New Year as well. Good as always to see you indeed. What a turn of a year. It's 2022. And today we're going to be looking at two things: exercise and healthy diet. As an adult, when you hear those few words, we groan because it just feels like, oh my Lord, misery. Imagine it for a child. So how do we get them, children, involved in healthy diets and exercise?
Well, just in the same way that we get our New Year's resolutions, in January after the regrets of all the Christmas eating and so on, we want to have our New Year's resolutions. We should also encourage goal setting for our children, and that should involve healthy eating and also exercise. So the first step for looking at healthy eating and exercise is to be that role model for your children. It's very important. We learn so much, as we're growing up by watching our parents, our aunts, uncles, all those people who surround us. So it's really important to know that's the first step, is to set a good example.
And you're so right. I mean, sometimes you look at children following their parents, you're thinking, but you walk just like your mother. You walk just like your father. And then you realize it must have been copied, because genetically, while they're similar, they're not necessarily exactly the same. So in everything, how the behavior we model is exactly what our children will seek to adopt. And so if we're going to get them into the whole question of exercise, then we ourselves have to model that behavior. So what for a child would you say is exercise?
Exercise is any activity that gets a child's heart racing. Not the parents' hearts. We know the parents' hearts will race when we see what the little ones are up to. But any activity that's vigorous enough to get their heart racing is considered to be exercise in children. And that can take so many different forms. Because, anybody who has children or who watches children, who spends time with children, knows that they are constantly on the go. So it's a very natural thing for them to be physically active. But it looks different depending on the age that you are. But children at any age should exercise or be encouraged in physical activity, even from a baby and up. So, it looks different for children who are under 5 years of age. depending on the developmental stage that they are at. So even from very young babies, once they're over a month or so, you start them in tummy time, and you can see a picture of a baby there having tummy time.
Yes.
And that's where you put them to lie down on their tummy. And that encourages them to lift up their head. And in so doing, it strengthens their neck, their chest, their ab, and their back. And just like us, they hate doing abs. It's like boot camp for abs. They don't like it very much. And so you have to have lots of toys to encourage them along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And as they get older, you see them start crawling. You put them down on the ground a lot. Children really do develop and grow really well when you put them down on the ground. They start
Yes.
moving around. And once they start crawling, you can't even catch them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go on to walking. And they constantly want somebody, when they're learning to walk, to hold their hands. They're constantly walking. And once they get moving, then parents are in trouble at that point.
That's
they
right.
just don't stop.
That's so true. They find themselves everywhere. And then, eventually they evolve and develop into other forms of activity. So anything that gets the heart racing going is good. It's considered to be exercise as a toddler and as anybody, really.
Yes.
So play is one active way of getting them involved in something physical, so that they consider to be exercise, not fighting. That's a different kind of play.
It's also exercise.
It is exercise, but it's a
kind.
different kind of play, correct? But be outside, kick the ball, run around the house. The boys, we were always on time trials. So the timer, I'd hold the timer. One would run this way, the other would run the other way, and who gets back to me first? That was exercise, they're into playing with.
Fun.
Yes, and it's a lot of fun playing with bubbles. You blow the bubble, you chase as many bubbles as you possibly can and get them.
Absolutely.
Every ounce of your body works in that.
And what's amazing, just like you said, just that very creative way of getting the kids to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
As a parent, it doesn't mean you have to physically get up and run after them every time. So I used to do exactly the same thing. I'd set the timer and I'd say to my 3 kids, okay, this is the obstacle course. You run here, there, there, there. And they'd be running up and down and sweating. I'd be sitting peacefully in the shade, watching them get their exercise. And they enjoyed it.
Of course.
Bubbles, climbing trees, jumping, running, riding that bike or that scooter, once they have the correct protective gear. All of those are ways that you can encourage the younger kids to move, and they will do it once they're given the opportunity.
Indeed so. Michael has this thing of wanting to go onto the slope and race. So he's like, okay, let's go. We're going to race to the bottom of the hill. Who gets there first wins. He'll come last, of course. But, the point is they're active and they themselves are also finding ways. So encourage them as much as possible to use the outdoors spaces safely and to be able to run, use their limbs, do everything. Exercise is a healthy way to start your day and to start your life. But, as we grow older, we reduce the amount of time that we spend in exercise. So what do you say to those beyond the toddler now so that they don't find themselves being so sedentary and fat at the end of it all?
Well, one of the things I forgot to mention is that toddlers and younger children need to exercise about 3 hours a day. That might sound like a lot, but the truth is, if you've been with them long enough, that they would do that naturally, much more. But you're right, as you get older, children do tend to become more sedentary. So the children who are over 5 years of age need to be encouraged in more structured physical activity, and whereas younger toddlers will need about 3 hours a day, the older ones will need 1 hour a day of aerobic heart pumping activity. And for many children, that can take the form of the same things we talked about before, turn them outside, get some roller skates on, go climb a tree, that sort of thing, go to the jungle gym or the playground, go to the pasture and run around, and they will enjoy it. But structured physical activity can also be a great way of getting them involved. And that can be, like your structured cricket, your football, netball, basketball. All of those structured activities are excellent, and they're part of a team, and they learn so much from being on a team. So exercise, not just the physical aspect of it, but there's also the emotional aspect that they will be learning how to function on a team. So it's really good to get children involved in structured physical activity as well as their own natural physical activity. So push them outside, get them out. If you don't have a lot of land around you, they can still get a lot of physical exercise inside the house. You'd be amazed, even just something like jogging on the spot or running around the house, they can get a lot of physical activity in. So don't feel hampered if you don't have a lot of space around your house. That is something, that is natural. And don't forget those who are differently abled.
Yes.
They also need to get out there and have fun.
Indeed. I feel so guilty. I do Simon Says, and I'm Simon. So Simon says, jump on one foot. Because it's physical activity. You get them going.
Yes.
You get them going. So that's fun.
Exactly.
That's really fun.
Yes.
So, folks, we've got to get our children into an exercise regime very early. And a balance with all of that, obviously, is a healthy diet, because we have to watch what we consume as well. And oftentimes we hear the word healthy diet and we think does not taste good. So how do we change our thinking where that's concerned?
That is so true. People, from the time they hear healthy, we all do, we groan. We think, oh no, it's going to be horrible assortment of terrible things that taste horrible. It doesn't have to be that way. And with children, again, this is where it's important to be creative. They love, if you make a smiley face out of vegetables, or, they get involved in the kitchen, they tend to be much more willing to try those so-called yucky foods.
Yes.
And, it's natural for them to be picky at a certain age, but it can be fun. So one of the ways that you can get them to eat healthy is by knowing what healthy is. So as you can see on this plate that we have here, this is definitely different from what most Caribbean households will think of when we think of the proportions of foods that should be on a plate. So as you can see, about half the plate are fresh fruit and vegetables. And that is really different. Normally in the Caribbean, that half is going to be the carbohydrates, right?
That's right. That's
Rice
right.
and the macaroni pie. But we want half of that plate to be fruit and vegetables for children. You can have fruit on your plate for lunch. There's nothing wrong with that. And then a quarter of the plate should be complex carbohydrates. So we don't want a lot of things like macaroni pie. It's okay to have those things from time to time, but not on a regular basis. All those good ground provisions that our grandparents used to eat and encourage us to eat, those are the sort of complex things that you want to see on your child's plate. Whole grain as well. And then a quarter of the plate should be protein. So again, high quality protein. We're not looking at protein that is very high in fat. We're looking at lean protein. And children definitely enjoy things like lean minced meat. You can make that into meatballs. They love that sort of thing. You can have lean cuts of chicken, etc. So these are foods that we'll be looking to place on our children's plate, and they usually really do enjoy them. And try to work with what you do know that your child likes, and not to get into big food battles. The last part of that is that the dairy, they should definitely have a source of calcium in their diet. And from age 2 and up, that needs to be 2% milk, not whole milk. And we want to stay away from those flavored milks that are so high in sugar. They should drink lots and lots of water, and they should have no more than 4 ounces of 100% fruit juice in a day. Stay away from sweetened drinks as well. So these are some of the basic concepts of healthy eating for children.
The use of the colorful plate probably helps. Children love color and they can see it better than if you just put them there with a blank white plate and you're asking them to understand what it is. So perhaps you can get a little bit creative yourself too, and from very early in introducing it through color, or even the vegetables and stuff that you put on the plate, let them be colorful. So the children's imagination can grow. They're enthused by what they see and they'll try it from there as well, because I'm telling you, it's difficult. Even me, I still struggle today, with trying to watch my portions to get enthused by vegetables. Yeah, so imagine it for the child who doesn't have a clue, who doesn't quite understand, So we have to find ways of making healthy eating so much more interesting for the children.
And interesting.
The drinking part is a little bit easier, They get thirsty at some point, so they're going to want to drink something. So then you can start to introduce them into alternatives as well. But eating, when they're eating, that's the hard part, because there's the pizza, there are the fast food restaurants, there are all of the other smelling things that smell really good. Yeah. So it's how do you get them to turn away from that and turn to the portions that you've talked about and the variety of which you just speak? How do you think we can do that?
I think it's really important to, first of all, make the effort as much as possible. I know it can be challenging with all the working parents out there, to try to prepare meals at home. because your food tastes good to your children. It really does. And so it's really important from young not to introduce the fast food diet as being a regular part of your family meals. So if they have never had those on a regular basis, they're not going to miss them. So you start with the good habits from a very young age. The other thing is that you have to recognize that as your children get older, at first they'll be very picky. So that is because their growth rate naturally slows down after about a year of age. And so parents start to worry, why is my toddler not eating that much? Because they literally don't need to. So we need to recognize that the amount of food that they need actually will decrease initially until they hit that growth spurt in adolescence, where they seem to consume anything that isn't nailed down. So your expectations as a parent have to shift with the child's growth patterns. Don't try to push them to eat more than they really need to, because then you will create an unhealthy relationship with food. The clean your plate up mentality actually is something that encourages obesity later in life. So have realistic ideas of the portions that they really do need, and not a decision of how much they should eat based on, I think you should eat this much. They may not need to. So listen and watch your child when they're eating. And when they're done, they're done. Be sure not to offer and have a lot of snacks on hand, because I've had parents say to me, my little one won't eat the food, but they do eat the biscuits and the snacks and and I said, well, who gives that to them? You have to make sure it's not at home, because it's too tempting if you have it at home, and they will hold out once they know those foods are available. So make sure that you only have healthy foods available at home, just as you should for yourself as an adult, so you don't have temptation. If you bring lots of snacks at home in my house, I will confess that I'm very likely to eat them, but I don't bring them at home so that I don't have the temptation. So you have to be careful how you set up your house, and so you reduce the temptation of those low density foods.
A whole firm to the rule that says snacks only come at certain times or for certain as rewards for certain things. It's not your food.
Occasional.
And you hold fast to that, and you find it very easy thereafter. Because Christopher understands very clearly, you don't just reach into the snack drawer. You have to first ask for permission, and then it's granted if certain conditions are met. So that's good. And the other thing, the portion sizes again, because even as children, this, and I hear this, the stomach is the size of your fist, basically.
Yes.
And when Christopher folds his fist, oh my goodness, my stomach is only so small. Yes, so therefore don't try to overconsume. You're not yet developed to the point where you have to eat as much as me, for instance. And parents oftentimes don't even consider that for just until the fist is folded, and then they realize, oh my goodness, my child's stomach is only so big.
Correct. So, be careful not to really over-encourage your child to eat, because you do that at the table, they feel pressured, they eat more than they feel comfortable eating, and then mealtime becomes a very unpleasant battleground where you are coaxing and cajoling, and they're crying, I don't want this and I don't want that. You really do need to listen to your child. And if you're worried about how your child is eating, just check in with your doctor and see how they're growing. If they're growing normally, then they're eating well. It's a very common concern of parents that, my child is not eating enough. But, if your child is growing, your child is definitely getting in all that they need. Focus on variety, build meal plans out depending on what they like, especially toddlers. They can be so picky. If this week they like, carrots, then put carrots in everything.
Yes.
To get the other foods in. Next week they'll hate carrots and they'll move on to something else, and then you'll have to build a whole fresh new meal plan. So the whole point is, don't panic. They will definitely become more receptive to foods as they get older, but do not try to push and force them to eat when they're really not ready to eat a certain amount.
Indeed.
That's very important to keep in mind.
This has been so inspirational and so interesting indeed. So folks, we got to leave it right there, Dr. Bertrand. What's that? What is that I'm hearing?
Those are my lovely dogs having a chorus. I think they're greeting everybody in Barbados for the new year.
I love it indeed. Dr. Bertrand, as always, thank you so much for joining us and teaching us, ways that we can get our children onto a healthy diet, but also into some real fun exercise activities. And don't use the word, just fun things to do that build our bodies up and allow us to be able to exercise the body parts as well. Thank you so much as always. God willing, we'll see you again next week.
Thanks. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye indeed. And the dogs also said bye-bye. We'll take a break here. When we come back, Agent Sharita will talk to us about, as prospective tenants, what do we need to be mindful of with our landlords, and landlords, what you need to be mindful of as prospective tenants come to you with their pets. Stay with us. Back after this. 28 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock as we turn our attention to that smiling face right there you just saw, Agent Sharita. Good morning to Agent Sharita.
Good morning, morning.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Indeed. Brand new year, but the same old experiences that tenants will have and landlords will have as well with their tenants. And you know, sometimes, you have a prospective tenant eager to move into the space, but he says or she says to the landlord, but I have a dog, or I have some birds, or I have a pet snake, all of those kinds of things. So what do you as a landlord then, what do you do to that person who is willing to pay you up front?
So here's the thing, landlords have been in a quandary recently. We're not the most amicable people when it comes to embracing tenants and their pets, sadly. Our culture as regards embracing pets into rental properties is not the same as, let's say, North America. However, in recent times, because there's been an influx of welcome stamp guests, most of them see their pets as family. Yes. So it has put landlords in a position now where they have to be a little bit more open-minded when it comes to embracing pets in the home. So that is something that has arisen in recent times. And also, some nice people rent the property, and once they're in and have satisfied, all the requirements on your rental application and so forth, only then do they mention, oh, by the way, I have Buster. I would have loved to move him in with me. I hope you could, make an exception. So what do we do?
What do you do then? But the pet pig. It's all well and good to breed a bird. You might breed a dog. Don't breed the sheep. Don't breed that kind of thing. So those are concerns that you're saying to me to be a little bit more open-minded. You call it that pig your family, and I'm supposed to give my property to that pig? What do I do?
So here's the deal. If you decided that, I don't want my property to be sitting empty, I'm going to be open-minded, you have to first of all decide what are you amenable to accepting. So I know some owners who are like, no cat whatsoever, because they picture, if the property is furnished, for example, they picture their furniture being scratched up, fur all over the place. So they have said no cat, but we'll accept outdoor dogs. And then I have persons who said, okay, we'll accept dogs because, there's some persons who see dogs as their kids and they're well trained. And in that case, in your actual lease, you need to specify if you are amenable to accepting a pet, be specific about what you are accepting. Otherwise, you might get a rude awakening when you say, yeah, sure, pets allowed, and they turn up with their parakeets, their turtle, their pet sheep, and then the dog.
But I can be as specific as I want to be, but because I'm specific and I did not include something else, the tenant turns up with something else. And they say, but hold on, my lease
Well,
says, they did not say that I could not bring, you know, and then you find yourself with a whole flock of geese and you don't understand, what are they doing on my property? You know, that kind of thing. So how specific can one truly be at the end of the day?
Okay, so remember, at the end of the day, it is your rental property. You are in control, so take control, and you use your lease as the mechanism to define the terms and conditions of the agreement. So let's say Pearson wants to come with 2 Rottweilers. You state specifically on that lease that you might be allowed to keep 2 dogs only up to 40 pounds on the premises, and you state that in the lease. If it's a cat, you are entitled to keep 1 cat only on your premises. And you put a little pet schedule attached to your lease that states these things that you also ensure that the tenant signs off on. What you can then further do, especially those who have furnished properties and might be allowing pets inside, you also request a pet deposit, pet security deposit. You can do that above and beyond the rental deposit for the tenant. So let's say the tenants are renting a property that's $2,000 a month and they pay a security deposit of $2,000. You can then perhaps state that, for your 2 dogs, I would like an additional $500 security deposit, which is refundable once my property is intact at the end of stay. So all of that helps to safeguard you a bit.
How much consideration as a landlord should I give to the neighbors as well? Because I don't like she, I like he. So yes, bring your farm and come. How do I consider my neighbors when I'm creating this lease and agreement with my prospective tenant?
Well, yes, of course. One of the clauses that you should put in that pet schedule is, ensure that, for example, your pet is not a nuisance and that you have it under control at all times.
Yes.
You can even put in your schedule terms stating that if the pet is found unsupervised, that it is allowed that he is taken to some, like the RSPCA or wherever that takes care of pets. You put all of what is necessary to provide, peace and tranquility to the neighbors, minimize any issues coming back to you. You don't want somebody in there and the neighbors find you to complain to. So you make sure that that pet schedule has those types of details as well.
Yeah, it's at the tenant to ensure that those animals are kept tethered and protect the property of those around as well. So we can be sure to put that into our lease arrangement.
Yeah.
So, but then again, it's at the agreement of the tenant to either comply or not.
Exactly. And other things that you should ensure are in there. I mean, we would think that this is a given, but it's not. You have to put in there that you are responsible for cleaning up all fecal matter and cleaning and sanitizing and removing pet dander. You have to put that in there. And not just put it in there, but say you have to use words like immediately. Remove all such and such matter immediately. Because next minute you turn up a year later and I can hold that before I move out. Don't worry about the pile that you see in the backyard.
Yeah,
you're right. You have to think of all those factors. You should also, especially. Go ahead.
I think sometimes you have to, as a landlord, you should be mindful too of how lenient you are, because there'll come the time when the property will be returned to you. And the changes made to that property will astound you if you're not paying close attention. That individual, because you've allowed him to have pets, set up a shed and ants. And it's affecting the main property or other structures, and you are not even paying attention to what this tenant, because you said yes, it's allowed, was doing to your property.
Now, in the body of the lease itself, you usually have a clause saying that you are not allowed to, construct or add on or extend anything to your building or add a building or a structure without permission. So that should be in the body of the lease. So you should be in there deciding if this structure can work on your property or not. Furthermore, you always ensure that that clause about, permitting inspection of the property with 24 hours or 48 hours notice is in the lease, particularly when pets are involved. You need to check out your place, intermittently to make sure that nothing has gone totally awry.
So true. The last thing you want is that cow moving through your property because the tenant is allowing it. You don't need that at all. So frequent enough inspections. You don't want to be a bother to your tenant, but at least, observe, pay some attention to the whole thing. Be sure to have it documented in the lease, because that lease becomes your legal document that you can use now in the court of law if you need to enforce your rights. So all of those things are going to be absolutely critical. But having that relationship too with the tenant that says, we're open to discussion, we're open to talk. I'm not going to harass you, but at the same time, I want you to respect my positions as well, because I'll be keeping a tab on it. Is also going to be vital, I suppose.
And the two things I would say in closing: number one, if you're renting out your property, ask up front, do you have any pets? Because what I've noticed is that those prospective tenants who have pets, they never declare it up front.
Yes.
They get you to like them first. They even ask for the lease. They fill out all sorts of forms. Oh, by the way, my little 2-year, chow chow.
Yes.
You want to, you don't mind.
Yes.
So make sure you always ask up front, because they'll sneak that on you at the end, especially if they check out and you like them. And also make sure that you have a clause stating that at the end of tenancy, you must sanitize, disinfect, and deodorize the relevant areas of the property where the pets would have been kept.
Yeah, because we know cats, and we know the smells of cats. You're quite right, That's a brilliant ideas indeed. And so, while going into the business of real estate, it's a win. It could be a win for you. There's some things you need to be mindful of. And if you have any questions at all, folks watching, if you're renting your property or renting out your property, and the folks online are already commenting, a very happy new year to our beautiful smiling agent Sharita. We love that smile. It lights up the place. Yes, it is. It's the brightest smile on TV, for real. And it's good to have it every Tuesday morning. If for no other day of the week, this is the one day we can smile along with you. So Agent Sharita, again, thank you so much. Folks, we can call 233-8888, 233-8888, or Barbados Real Estate 246 on social. That's where you could find her, and you can engage with her as well, Good girl to engage with indeed. Agent Sharita, as always, thank you so much. All right.
Take care.
You too. Thank you so much. Agent Sharita on a Tuesday morning on only one place, Morning Barbados. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Mr. Thornwood will be with us. Stay with us. Fourteen and a half minutes now to go to 8 o'clock. Here we go. Here we go. Happy New Year to you, Mr. Thornwood. Here we go.
Happy New Year, person. Happy New Year, everybody.
That is funny.
Studio, Happy New Year, Barbados.
Yeah,
I hope everybody is doing great.
We're doing well. I'm not going to ask you anything about that. How are you doing, though?
I appreciate it. I'm pretty good. I'm doing quite fine. I'm coasting.
Good.
Taking a little vacation time.
Fantastic. So it's a brand new year, and you know how we do it. We set ourselves goalposts. We want to do this, we want to achieve that, and so on as well. So let's look at some of those New Year's resolutions that perhaps we haven't considered that we ought to.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you think about resolutions. I consider them like a double-edged sword. If you don't have, you know, I always talk about this, about setting clear, concise, that are manageable, that you can knock off and take off each and every time, and you know, give yourself that little chip on the shoulder that you've achieved. Some people tend to set these really unachievable goals going into the following year. They're like, you know, this is going to be my year. This is going to be the year that I can get started. I can get in the gym. I can do all these amazing things, and they're wonderful. And if you fall land on a cloud. However, guys, it doesn't happen by osmosis. It doesn't happen out of thin air. You need to planning for these things the year before. So if you know that in 2022, all right, in 2021 you were planning for 2022, and you know you want to get in the gym, this is going to be your New Year's resolutions, then you need to have what gym you want to get into. You need to have, start to think about what type of diet you want to do, and then. I call it double because some people do this thing, and I find it hilarious. There's not. I am going to spend this season eating all the crap that I want because I'm going to start the gym in January, guys. Please stop doing that. Stop doing that. It does not work like that. The repercussions will follow you into the following month. Later on, like you don't eat food today and then it don't later on, you know what I mean? Help you with disease and stuff like that. It happens over accumulative.
Yeah, you're right though. I mean, December, that's the time I'm going to get my ham. That's the time I'm going to get my whatever. Let me just live a little sometimes, you know?
Correct. So that a little wild.
Yeah, a little wild sometimes. But you're right. They have consequences. And so we need to be mindful of the consequences and not realize that we haven't built it up. It's going to take some time to chip it back down. And so we must be prepared in making our resolutions to invest the time to see the change and to build the change that we're looking for. Because oftentimes we think it's just about losing. It's about building, as a matter of fact.
Correct. I'm like, my biggest issue with these things is because when you don't succeed, you tend to create like a negative connotation towards like fitness and your diet and stuff like that. You're literally creating basically eating disorders when you tell yourself, you know what, I like you said, if it's December time, don't tell yourself going to overdo for January because I'm gonna work out in January. Just coast, just have a good time, just share some drinks, have some fun, eat some food, do that, but without having the idea of I'm going to join the gym in January, and then should you not. And you don't succeed in getting the goal that you want to get, then what do you have? You then feel bad about eating all the food that you did in December and doing all the crap or whatever you did in December that you didn't have to do because you thought you were joining the gym in January. On top, you're like a failure. And there's a huge psychological aspect towards fitness that people kind of underestimate that it greatly affects like results. So you obviously want to be in a good state of mind when you're going forward to achieve these, right? Quick flashback, because I'm not trying to take up all your time. I know that we're in the new year. We did a little give back for December time. Cal had the People's Bouncer on, and if we can, I want to do a quick snippet of the trailer that we did. Hold me back, got my back.
Let's take a look. But production crew is working on getting that together so we can share it with you folks, so we can take a look back at that indeed. And so as we're preparing to do that, which one
we're doing the water challenge is what we did. I don't want to. but we got some people together for 2021, and they're gonna cover it real quick.
This over here. That's not it. Cases of water. Oh, fine. Compliment. I said 7. You said? Yeah. Now we call it. Is that your phone? Is that your phone? We're recording. I know.
She is a gangster for sure, bro. She is a gangster for sure.
Hey. I was like, you want me over here pressing water? You better bring a pack of dogs, a pack of akis or something.
Yeah, boy. You're looking good.
He absolutely smashed that.
We should have shake our little balls.
What? Pause. Pause. Pause.
The home of the sweetest chicken in Barbados.
What is happening? What is happening with my YouTube? We're already on YouTube. That is useless information. You're currently watching this video.
You guys are crazy. You guys are totally crazy.
Disclaimer: safe on the road. Don't mind that. That was a very controlled environment where people's bouncer pulled out in an aggressive way. So those challenges are really about trying to get people more involved in fitness. Given that we did one before, that was our 55 for 55th, and we're just going to keep those going on throughout 20 with some new challenge. Maybe we get Pearson off. Maybe we get some people from who knows.
Just maybe. I mean, that's a resolution for a brand new year. But you hold that thought. We're going to come right back right after this to continue with Thornwood right here on Morning Barbados. Stay with us. So we have just about 6 minutes still with Mr. Thornwood, Mr. Clee Woods, Mr. It's Okay to Live a Little Wild sometimes. His music banging on the radio indeed. And so Thorn, we're looking today at some New Year's resolutions. We're also looking at the challenges that you've already set for us, the water press challenge and all the rest that we're doing. We're looking also at the opportunity to work out with you guys at home at our convenience. So which one are we going to start with talking first and reminding folks about?
We start from the top again. When it comes to your New Year's resolutions, truly try to set clear, concise goals that do not make you feel overwhelmed going into the new year. You do not want to create any eating disorders. You do not want to create any negative fitness or your journey. If the December time comes and you want to have a good time, don't think that you need to overdo it. And that's another thing when it comes to even training, because sometimes people tell me that, Torn, I see you, right? And I like the things you just do. But I go in and train so that I could come back. And it's like, the only person who can really prepare you for me is me. No matter what level you're at, depending on your goals. When I see you, I like my training model is like, what do you have? What don't you have? And I'm trying to help you build on the things that you don't have in order to sound physically fit individual. So if you are athlete level or superior athlete level, I will be testing you at superior athlete level at your max so that I can then create, your workout plan based on that so that you can improve. So bad initially,
Yes.
but you're gonna feel good after. You know, you're gonna get that progress. You're gonna get those results over time. So same thing applies to your diet. Don't think that you need to overdo and consume so much things in this December time because you're telling yourself, you know what, I in the gym in January. Like I hope that that the same thing applies to like your money. I hope that you're not gonna tell yourself, you know what, I can spend all my money in December because I know I get paid in January. You're not gonna do that, or at least I hope you're not gonna do that. So cross board.
Right. So the in-home training sessions, though, because what you just described also fits very neatly into that, where we can contact you guys and we can come. You will come to me, whether it's at the office after work, whether it's at home, morning, noon, or night, and your workout with me.
Yes, 100%. That is our motto. Our schedule is our schedule. So we have a team of personal trainers that we put together. This is obviously an effort to, just create ways. We try at Calipit, we're trying to not give you guys an excuse, if that makes sense. You have no excuse, right? Take it to the gym, all right, cool, no problem. You got kids, all right, cool, that's no problem. We are giving you a trainer specifically for your time and your schedule. So if it is 30 minutes, if it is 5 minutes, my mentor used to tell me some time is better than none. Then we will schedule that time for you and your trainer will be there waiting for you. So if you know you're supposed to do that, believe that our trainers will be there at 11:50 or 11:55 waiting for you, right? So get home, right? You don't need any equipment. Have a gym at your place. That's fantastic. We've actually to our keeps like growing because we actually just add, and we're about to add swimming to our team.
Yes.
We already have like boxing and yes, general personal training, sports massage. Big shout out to Sports Therapy 101 and Chanel coming on board, and massages. Lovely Naomi is board. She does postnatal massages. She's incredible, and we're just building the team so that we can deliver this service to you guys and just get the island on a healthier route. That is the challenge. So speaking of challenge, you had Brady on here last week, and I did say that a trailer video, like a send-off training session. He is going to be fighting on February 19th for the WBC or the WBA title. I don't think people understand the magnitude that is. That is a huge deal. But I want to really quickly jump to that one so you guys can see the trailer that we did. That video comes out this Friday. Q team.
Two, that's it. Down. That's right.
Look at all the Amazons. The Amazons, Saturday, January the 7th, when it all goes down, and it will be available. Where can we watch it?
On YouTube. That's going to be available this Friday, actually. On YouTube, we'll be posting that, and he will be fighting on February 19th. He's an incredible fighter.
Yes.
Dedicated and hard. It was one of our grind session videos, and he went all in. All in.
That's Mr. Califit246, folks. Califit246@gmail.com. Right today, and Thorn will answer you today, and he could poke you up today. Thorn, we got to leave it for today. Thank you so much as always for joining us, and should it be God's will, we'll see you perhaps in person next week. Thanks, my brother.
All right.
Mr. Thornwood, indeed. That's it for today, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. Producer Nadia Foster, technical director has been Ruel Ford, sound engineer Michael Sobers, master control Tamisha Green, and Pearson Boyne. Hoping to see you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you.